again and welcome back to the PhatPhish Guitar Studio. I'm Dave and in this video we're going to be taking a look and a listen to this. It's the Darth Fazer from Flattley Guitar Pedals. Okay, if you're not familiar with the Flattley brand, they're a small family-run business based in the UK, do some really good quality pedals across the range from drive pedals, modulation and various other bits and bobs. Heading towards the boutique end of the market, not the cheapest pedals you'll find, but they are really well built and some really good sounds on offer. Before we dive into this particular pedal, let's talk a little bit about phasing and what the phase effect does. I realise this is the point where half of you watching are going to write abusive comments down there and start saying, why don't I just shut up, stop talking and play guitar? The reason is I kind of credit the audience for having a bit of an attention span and some intelligence and want to understand what it is that's being played. So for those of you who stuck around, let's dive into talking about what phasing is. If you think about a sound wave in its most simplistic form, it looks something like this. And what a phaser effect does is it takes that and it kind of flips it and knocks it out of phase. And then if you just take a normal in-phase sound and an out-of-phase sound and you put the two of them together, they cancel each other out. But if you move the out-of-phase version of that sound slightly in time so they don't line up perfectly, the in-phase and out-of-phase waves kind of interact in an interesting way and you get like this swirly, swooshy sort of effect. And depending on how you affect the out-of-phase sound and the time that it's moving, relative to the unaffected signal, you get all sorts of interesting effects. And what this phaser allows you to do is to control that out of phase sound. So looking at the controls that we've got over here, we've got depth, resonance, speed, mix and a little switch marked 6-4. Let's start with the top left there, depth. Basically this is just how deep, how intense the out of phase signal is. And the one next to it, resonance, is kind of this controls the, we'll hear it in a second, but basically the richness of the sound. Speed, as I said, it takes the out of phase signal and moves it in time. So speed is how quickly or how slowly it's moving that out of phase signal in time. Mix is a blend between the unaffected signal and the affected signal. And 6-4, these are the number of phasing stages that you've got. Now most phasers will have probably 4 phase stages, which is what this has got when that switches over on the right hand side. Flick it to the left and you get 6, so we add in an extra 2 stages of phasing effect and it just gets a bit richer and a bit more interesting. Best just to play though and kind of let the pedal talk for itself. Best place to start is let's just set all the controls at about 12 o'clock. It's always a good place to start. One criticism I have got of this pedal, the controls, I mean the box itself is a good solid metal box, it's really well built. The feel on the controls is excellent and the knobs here, they're like brushed metal, they're really classy feel to them. But the marking on them is not particularly obvious. Really, so this is something I should do actually, just get a little bit of black paint and just kind of really mark that like that indicator for where it's set. Okay, so guitar without the effect. Yeah, so you can hear that sort of like swirly sound that I was talking about, where we've got the in-phase and the out-of-phase signal just kind of interplaying with each other. The mix control I'll talk about first. So this, you can think of this as a bit like a volume control. But for me, the way this works is a little bit backwards, in that it's mixing the unaffected signal with the phased signal, and all the way over to the right. So what you would think of as being full is actually favouring the unaffected signal. So really, it's like mixing in the non-affected signal, turning it what you would think is all the way down. And it's starting to basically remove the unaffected signal and we're just getting just the phase sound. So I'll leave it down there for this demo because really we want to hear the pedal, we want to hear what the phaser can do. Starting in the top left, we've got that depth control. So I said, you know, a phase pedal takes your original signal and knocks it out of phase. So the depth control affects the depth of that out of phase sound. So playing a chord, turn the depth all the way up full. Yeah, so that depth control all the way up full, much more pronounced sound. So let's try that at the other end of the scale. So we'll turn that all the way down. So this is like the minimum depth. Okay, so for all we've got the mix control set, so we're only hearing the affected signal. Turning the depth control down gives you a much more subtle sort of sound. Let's take the depth up to the middle again and have a bit play around with speed. So this is our speed control set halfway. Turn it up full. Yeah, very, very warbly, isn't it? If we turn it down, we'll get something a bit more subtle. So the depth right the way up. Hear the phasing a little bit more. It's like quite a slow, whooshy sort of sound. It's when the speed's all the way down there. Take the speed back to about the middle, and we'll take the depth to about the middle, and let's play around with that resonance control. See what that can do. So at the minute it's set about the middle. Turn that up full. Turn it down. Yeah, so a lot of scope for affecting the sound with that control. Take that back to the middle, and let's talk about that 6/4 switch I was talking about, like phase number of phasing stages. Actually, just set a sound up here. I'm going to go for something with a bit of resonance and a little bit more depth. Something like this. And let's hear that with 6 phasing stages. So that's just the regular 4. Yeah, so you get a more pronounced sound there, more pronounced effect, because you're adding in an extra phasing stage. Hearing the examples there, really with the clean signal, just to give you an idea of what these different controls can do and how much how they control the sound and how much ability there is to sculpt the sound coming out the pedal. I'm going to do is just mess around with a few different settings, and we'll hear it with some overdriven sounds. So for this, I'm going to play the TC. No, let's have the JHS Angry Charlie. And have that with some phasing. So start off in the middle again. I'll leave the mix all the way up full, so we're hearing the affected signal. Okay, so as you can hear, lots of flexibility, lots of control over the different sounds here. In a YouTube video of the sort of format I do, I can't kind of show you all the combinations really. All I can do is give you a general idea of what the pedal can do and its capabilities, and kind of demonstrate its general sort of voice, and hopefully that will inspire you either to go off and investigate the world of phasers in general, or maybe look at this specific pedal itself. Now, as I mentioned at the start, this isn't a cheap pedal. It's heading more towards the boutique end of the market. I think when I bought this, the retail on these was over £200. So you know, as I said, we're into the boutique end of the market. But I was looking on Flattley's own reverb page, and I think they've got one of these on offer at the minute for about 130, which makes it a little bit more attainable. Is it worth it? Well, I bought one. To be fair, I bought mine at a guitar show, so I got a sort of like a show price on it, and I was happy to part with my money. So yeah, I guess it's good value. I like it. It's not an always on effect for me. It sits there on the board and it has a purpose. I find it's quite useful sometimes as a sound, just to add a little bit of texture, like put a slow phaser type of effect onto like a rhythm part, just add a little bit of texture and give it a bit more contrast between that and the lead parts. Or alternatively, using it with a clean, or possibly even an acoustic guitar, something a bit more pronounced, maybe a slightly faster sort of phasing speed, as an alternative to using a chorus or something on a clean guitar. Lots of sounds on offer. It's got a nice set of controls that allow you to sculpt the sound to your preference. So yeah, it's worth a look. So the build quality as well is really good quality components. Criticisms I've got of it, like I said, the controls are a little bit difficult to read, so it's well overdue me doing it. It's actually marking the knobs up with a bit of black paint or something, so I can see where that indicator's at. And the other thing I'll mention is the switch on it. Now the switch here is a really good quality foot switch. It's got a really good positive action to it, but I do find sometimes, either for where it is in my signal chain or what, there's sometimes quite an audible click in the signal chain as the pedal's switching on or off. It's not good. It's not, you know, it's not brilliant, but it's one of those things when it is a recognised sort of characteristic of true bypass pedals, that when you turn them on or you turn them off, there is sometimes a noticeable click. If you're playing through when you turn the pedal on or off, you tend not to notice it. It's just if you're sitting there in silence and you just click the pedal, there's a bit of noise. But it's the price you pay for having true bypass, I guess. It's a bit of a niggle, but it doesn't particularly bother me, and it certainly doesn't affect the sound, you know, once the pedal's in use. Okay, so there you go. There's a look and a listen to the Darth Fazer. So I hope you found that interesting. If you did, please click like down there. If you really enjoyed it and you want to see other videos that I post on the channel, then please click subscribe, which is also down there. If you've got any questions about guitar gear, guitar playing, music theory, anything at all, you're welcome to leave them in the comments. But if you want to ask me something specifically to cover in a future video, you're better off going here and ask your question through that form. Don't always see comments left on YouTube videos, but I am guaranteed to see questions that are sent in through that form. So like I say, I can get around to answering your question in a future video. Okay, that's all for now. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.